Daniyal moved into apartment 606 on a quiet Thursday evening. It wasn't perfect, peeling paint, old carpets, noisy pipes, but the rent was low, and he needed a fresh start. That first night, everything seemed normal. He unpacked his laptop, made tea, and watched videos until he fell asleep on the couch. But at 3:12 a.m., he woke up suddenly. Not from a nightmare, not from a sound he could describe. Something felt off. The apartment door, which he remembered locking, was now slightly open, just an inch. Daniyal froze. He listened carefully. Nothing. No footsteps, no breathing, just the low hum of the fridge. He tried to convince himself he forgot to lock it. He closed it, turned the deadbolt, and went back to sleep. But this was only the first night, and apartment 606 was just getting started. The next morning, Daniyal noticed something strange. A small amount of plaster dust on the floor, directly under the ceiling vent. He assumed it was old building decay, nothing serious. But that night, as he lay in bed scrolling on his phone, he heard it. A soft, deliberate sound coming from directly above him. Not pipes, not the neighbors. Footsteps. Slow, controlled, as if someone was carefully crawling inside the ceiling. Daniyal sat up instantly. The sound stopped. He grabbed a broom and tapped the ceiling, hard. Silence. Then, after 3 seconds, something tapped back. 3 taps. Perfect rhythm. Perfect response. Daniyal dropped the broom. His heart raced. Someone, or something, was right above him. The following afternoon, Daniyal decided to check the apartment more carefully. He moved furniture, opened cabinets, knocked on walls, anything to reassure himself he was imagining things. Then he noticed something unusual behind the bedroom wardrobe. A thin line in the wallpaper, too straight to be natural. He pulled the wardrobe aside. Dust exploded into the air. Behind the wallpaper was a small, square hole in the wall, and inside that hole was a tiny black camera, pointing directly at his bed. Daniyal stepped back, shaking. Someone had been watching him. He ripped the camera out and found an SD card still inside it. He shoved it into his laptop with trembling hands. But every file on the card was corrupted. Every one except one. A single video remained. Its name was 606 He is Asleep. .mp4. Daniyal hesitated. His finger hovered over the mouse. Then he clicked play. The video opened with static, a buzzing gray screen that lasted almost 10 seconds. Then the image stabilized. It was Daniyal's bedroom. The angle was high, as if the camera had been placed deep inside the wall. And there he was, Daniyal, sleeping on his side, his chest rising and falling slowly. At first, nothing seemed off. No movement, no noise, just the soft hum of the apartment. But then the camera began to tilt, very slowly, as if someone was adjusting it from behind the wall. The frame shifted to the dark corner of the room. At first, Daniyal thought the image was glitching, but then the shape sharpened. A tall, thin silhouette standing perfectly still in the corner of the room. He watched himself sleeping, while someone else was standing only a few feet away. Daniyal slammed the laptop shut. His breath was shaking. Someone wasn't just watching him. Someone had been inside his room. Daniyal paced the apartment, every nerve in his body on fire. He looked up at the ceiling vent again. The metal cover hung slightly loose. He grabbed a chair, climbed up, and pushed the vent cover upward. It opened easily, too easily. A cold draft slipped out. The air smelled like dust and old sweat. He raised his phone flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness of the crawlspace above. At first he saw nothing, just insulation and pipes. Then he saw footprints, human footprints, pressed lightly into the dust. Fresh. And then, on the far side of the crawlspace, something metallic glinted. He crawled up just far enough to reach it. It was a key. Not his. Old. Rusty. Scratched. The kind used for maintenance doors. Someone had a way into every room in the building. Daniyal couldn't sleep that night. Every creak, every whisper of air felt like it was coming from the ceiling above. Around 2:40 a.m., he heard it again. Soft movement, a slow crawl right above his head. He grabbed the SD card again and tried data recovery one more time. This time, a new file appeared. 606 above.mp4. His heart hammered. He pressed play. The video wasn't of the room. It wasn't of him. The camera was recording the crawlspace itself. The light flickered, dust floated in the beam, and then something moved in the background. Not an animal, not a shadow. A hand, long, pale fingers slowly gripping a beam as someone or something crawled closer to the camera. The video cut out. Daniyal dropped the laptop. Whatever was up there was awake. Daniyal barely slept. He lay on the couch, lights on, blanket pulled to his chin, staring at the ceiling vent. Around 4:17 a.m., his phone buzzed. A motion alert. From the same camera he thought he'd destroyed. His hands trembled as he opened the notification. It was a still image, captured only minutes before. The picture showed his bedroom from a new angle, as if the camera had been moved. But it wasn't the room that made Daniyal's blood freeze. It was what was inside the vent. Behind the metal grate, pressed close to the slits, was a face, pale, expressionless, eyes wide open, staring directly at the camera. The face wasn't humanly still. It was too still, like it had been waiting for someone to finally notice it. Daniyal felt the room tilt. He couldn't breathe. Someone in the crawlspace was looking down at him. And now they knew. He knew. The next morning, Daniyal staggered into the lobby, dark circles under his eyes, determined to find answers. He asked the building manager if anyone had access to the crawl space above 606. The manager blinked. "We don't have a crawl space." Daniyal stared at him, confused, angry. He pulled up the photo of the footprints. The manager's face drained. "Follow me," he whispered. They walked to the 6th floor, down a narrow corridor few tenants even knew existed. At the end was a metal door with chipped red paint. No window, no markings, just a single old lock. He turned to him. "This area was sealed years ago. No one is supposed to go inside." He unlocked it. The door creaked open, revealing a long, dark maintenance tunnel leading directly above apartment 606. Cold air rushed out, and mixed with it was the faint smell of someone's breath. Daniyal stepped into the tunnel, phone flashlight trembling in his hand. Dust swirled around him. The air was damp, heavy, claustrophobic. The manager refused to follow. Daniyal walked carefully, his footsteps echoing off the metal walls. Far ahead, something glinted. A reflection. Something reflective, like glass? He moved closer, slowly, one breath at a time. When his flashlight reached the corner, he stopped. There, against the wall, was a small nest made from insulation, blankets, and shredded newspaper. In the center of the nest stood a row of objects: a toothbrush, a spoon, a black jacket, empty water bottles, and lined neatly beside them, 6 SD cards. Daniyal's stomach dropped. Someone had been living above him, watching him, recording him, collecting pieces of his life. Then he noticed something worse. Footprints, fresh ones, leading deeper into the darkness, not away from him, but toward him. Daniyal stared at the fresh footprints. They curved around the bend of the tunnel, leading into deeper darkness. He swallowed hard. His flashlight flickered, one quick pulse like a warning. He forced himself forward, each step louder than the last. The air grew colder, thicker, as if the tunnel itself was holding its breath. Then suddenly, movement. A soft scrape, like skin brushing metal, followed by a whisper. Not a word, not even a voice, just a sound, a slow exhale sliding across the metal walls from somewhere ahead. Daniyal froze. His flashlight shook so hard the beam danced wildly across the tunnel, and then he saw them. 2 pale fingers curling slowly around the corner of the wall, not reaching toward him, not threatening, just waiting, as if the person attached to them knew he would come eventually. Daniyal stumbled backward, heart hammering. He wasn't alone in that tunnel, and whatever lived there knew these halls far better than he did. Daniyal bolted back toward the entrance, breath sharp, hands shaking. He didn't stop running until he reached the nest again. His eyes locked on the row of SD cards lined neatly on the blanket. 6 of them, all labeled in shaky black marker. 606 Sleep 1, 606 Sleep 2, 606 Bedroom, 606 Shower, 606 Above 2, 606 vent face. His blood turned to ice. Someone had been recording him everywhere. He grabbed the cards, threw them into his pocket, and sprinted back down the tunnel. But just before reaching the exit, he felt it again. The soft, slow tapping against the metal ventilation pipes. Not random, not accidental. 3 taps, the same rhythm as before. This time the taps moved, first above him, then to his left, then behind him, following him, tracking him. He didn't look back. He slammed the maintenance door shut and locked it. But he knew locks didn't matter. Not in this building, not in 606. Not with someone living above him. Daniyal rushed back to his apartment, locked the door, shoved a chair beneath the handle, and dumped the SD cards onto his desk. He inserted the first one. Static. Then black. He tried the second. More static. The third file finally loaded. 606 bedroom.mp4. The footage was dim, grainy, recorded from inside the wall. It showed Daniyal asleep, on his back. Then, the frame shifted. Something moved into view from the left side of the screen. A figure emerging from the vent above him. The person, thin, long-limbed, crawled down the wall inch by inch with silent, unnatural control. They lowered themselves until their face hovered inches above Daniyal's. The mask, the white smooth mask, motionless, watching him breathe. But then the figure did something new, something they hadn't done in any other video. They turned their head directly toward the camera, as if they knew someone would watch this someday. And they whispered, "He's awake." Daniyal pushed back from his desk, nearly falling out of the chair. The whisper echoed in his skull. The figure in the mask, its voice thin and breathless. It knew he would watch. It wanted him to. He grabbed the next SD card. 606 vent face.mp4. The title alone made his hands shake. The video opened to a distorted angle inside the crawlspace. Dust swirled, pipes rattled softly. Then the camera tilted, slow, deliberate, toward the main ventilation shaft. Through the grate, far below, Daniyal saw himself moving around the apartment. But there was something else. Another person, crouched in the far end of the tunnel, huddled, still, facing the camera. The flashlight beam reflected off a rectangular metal panel behind the crouched figure. A door. A hidden exit connecting multiple apartments. Someone had built their own secret system inside the building. And Daniyal realized something horrifying. The figure in the video wasn't the same one he saw in the bedroom. There were 2 of them. Daniyal loaded the final SD card. Its name was different. Not a number, not a room. Just one word. Tonight. The footage began in total darkness. Only the faint sound of breathing. Then, a light. A dim glow. A flashlight turning on. The camera was being carried through the crawlspace. It moved quickly, purposefully, toward apartment 606. Closer. Closer. The camera reached the vent above Daniyal's bedroom. Through the slits, the lens focused directly on him. Not asleep, not moving. Sitting at his desk, watching the exact video that was being recorded. Daniyal froze. He wasn't watching past footage, he was watching something recorded just minutes ago. Someone was in the crawlspace right now, filming him right now. The video ended with a whisper so faint he had to replay it 3 times to understand. "We're coming down." Daniyal backed away from his desk, eyes locked on the ceiling vent. No sound, no movement, just stillness. He grabbed his phone and dialed emergency services. His voice cracked, his hands shook. But before he could finish speaking, the vent cover rattled. Once, twice, then slowly began to lift. Daniyal stumbled backward, knocking over a chair. He ran for the door, but stopped cold. Standing in the doorway was a figure, tall, thin, face hidden behind the smooth white mask. It didn't move, it didn't breathe, it just watched him. And from above, another figure dropped silently from the vent, landing behind him. 2 long hands reached out of the darkness. Daniyal's phone slipped from his fingers. The call stayed connected for 6 minutes, but dispatch heard only one thing: footsteps, dragging, fading into the crawlspace. Apartment 606 was found empty the next morning. The maintenance tunnel sealed shut. And on the floor, beside Daniyal's abandoned laptop, was a single SD card. Its name: "He finally saw us."